So I'm sure that you guys can see this setup that's built behind me, and well, currently it is producing a sulfuric acid, iron 3 chloride, nitrogen, and oxygen using just these 3 inputs. Now the thing is, we were supposed to be building this on camera, and well, I technically did, but just check out the footage for yourself. But yeah, so this is the guy with the chlorine. We just have to combine hydrogen on circuit 1, I assume. Yep, that gives us the empty cell back, plus the hydrochloric acid. Both of those things actually have to go down. Yeah, so for whatever reason, the entire 1 hour of footage that I recorded did not capture my game at all, which kind of sucks. Today was the episode of building up our infrastructure, hence all of this stuff, but I guess you missed a large portion of it. Although, don't worry, there's more infrastructure that we need to build up today, so I guess that'll make up for it, but let's first go through this. Although before any of that, hello everyone and welcome back to GregTech New Horizons. In the last episode, we made some oil processing to make us PE and PVC, and a little bit more also so that we can get diesel. As you can see, in between the episodes, I've been keeping up with stocking the inputs of this stuff. So yeah, we have lots of diesel here and lots of the plastics. I've also been trying to keep the blast furnace running for as long as possible. Matter of fact, yesterday I pretty much let my PC run for the entire day just cooking up alloys. So if we look here, yeah, check it out. We have plenty of stainless steel, lots of redstone alloy and pulsating iron. The ender pearls for which were sourced very kindly from the quest book. Yep, just 16 technician coins for 16 pearls. So hi, the ender pearl purchase quest is actually locked behind the HV chapter. That's why we haven't been doing that so far. Although thankfully, I actually recorded myself unlocking it the day before, which means, you know, you can actually get to see it. The machine hull recipe is actually quite simple, just stainless steel plates as you would expect for the casing, and then you just add some gold cables, which aren't that bad either. Yeah, I kind of forgot to mention that. Speaking of things that I've forgotten about, I also forgot to say that I moved the oil pump because we had completely ran out, although again, because I recorded that part of the footage a day earlier, you actually get to see it. And speaking of which, look at this, we have 1.2 million buckets of oil here, which actually comes from this oil vein now. It's a bit underground, but as you can see, we are pumping oil. We have another 300 buckets that we can take. Yeah, because the first vein that we had actually ran out somehow. I thought those things were meant to last hundreds of hours, but I did also go ahead and add this thing here, this semi-fluid generator. If we look at its recipe, it's not too bad. Pretty much just a combustion generator, but it uses Tombaga gears. And well, this can actually run off of a lot of fluids here, but the one that we really care about is the fact that it could run off of oil. It's not actually that great, 40,000 EU per bucket, unlike the 480,000 that we get from diesel. But because we are using the oil to get more oil, it just basically means that I won't have to maintain this. You know, since I don't have to replace the battery when it dies, or like I don't have to get some more diesel in the generator every now and then. It fuels itself is the thing. Okay, now hopefully even though you've missed like an hour of footage, I think I cleared up enough of the confusion to where it doesn't matter. Hopefully you guys are still on board with everything. Anyways, let's get back to the video now. But yeah, let's see. We are up to 500 stainless. That's not bad. I also made a bunch of kanthal right over here. Yeah, and there's actually still a whole lot more of that that needs to be cooked because yeah, eventually I want to have more of these blast furnaces and well, they're gonna need coils, of course. So at some point that'll be ready. Some other things that happened was a lot of ore processing, I think. I was processing a bunch of salt. We have a bunch in both of these setups that need them. And I think the last thing I did was building a little facade around our scrap reprocessing here. It looks a bit neater. I also have more space for drawers on the sides. Our overflow chest is right over here. And yeah, I'd say all in all, it's not that bad. Anyways, moving on to the goal of today's episode, which as I said earlier is building up our infrastructure. And so with that, let me actually explain what was going on here. Let's start by sulfuric acid. If we look at the recipe, it's a combination of sulfur trioxide plus water. And the trioxide is just sulfur dioxide plus oxygen, and the dioxide is just sulfur plus oxygen again. So that's exactly what we have going on here. There's an oxygen tank plus a sulfur input. Both of those go into the chemical reactor that you can see right over there. This might be a better angle. Yeah, that gets combined on circuit 3, gives us the dioxide, which goes down. That combines with oxygen cells, which again, we source from the same super tank with this pipe over here. That gives us the trioxide, which gets combined with water coming from cells down here. And this is something that I showed off in the scrapped footage, where you can actually use AE2 facades. So just cable anchors, which is like bolts of whatever material, plus any block you want. It gives you these facades, and the cool thing about these is that you can use them to hide pretty much anything that can take GregTech covers, even machines. So we're using that to hide the pipe over here, plus in a couple more places like this. Yeah, up there, there's probably one more spot down here. It's actually so nice. Yeah, I recently found out about it and I just wanted to mention it. Anyways, I think that's all that we have for sulfuric acid. That just gets pumped out into here. So next up we have iron 3 chloride, the inputs for which are iron dust and salt dust. The salt dust goes into this pipe, and into the electrolyzer to give us chlorine, and then we're auto outputting the sodium into this drawer. The chlorine then goes out with the pipe that you just saw earlier. So this pipe right here goes into this chemical reactor, and then this gets combined with hydrogen. Now hydrogen gives us hydrochloric acid, which then combines with iron dust to give us iron 3 chloride. But the cool part about this is that the hydrogen is fully recycled. That's why we don't input it anywhere. It just gets passed around between the machines. And yeah, then that goes into a pipe and buffered in our tank here. Now, the reason we need both of these fluids, which I'm realizing I never mentioned, is if we go here, I have a bunch of stuff pinned. This is for future episodes. But let's see, somewhere over here. Yes. So our next parts in progression are going to require us to make these circuits, the much cheaper LVs, MVs, and HVs. Now, most of the stuff here we already have, SMD transistors, resistors, capacitors, blah, blah, blah. What we don't have is the plastic circuit boards. And as you can see, that's where the iron 3 comes in. Plus some copper foil, that's cheap, and the plastic circuit board, which is polyvinyl chloride plus copper foil plus sulfuric acid. And the reason we're buffering exactly 64 buckets of each is, if you look, that's the perfect amount to make 4 stacks of boards, which is a pretty decent batch size to do every now and then. Yeah, I'm hoping that we can make like a 4 stacks of boards, and then by the time that we need another 4 stacks, these buffers will be full again. So now let's go over to the last setup that we have here, which is producing us mainly nitrogen, but we also get a byproduct of oxygen, although not that much, as you can see. But let's see. So the recipe for this is centrifuging compressed air cells. And the way we get compressed air, well, just a compressor with empty cells. So that's what we have here. Although the recipe, as you can see, is horrifically slow, 80 seconds at LV. So that's why we have 2 of them. Although it is still very slow. I pretty much had to leave my PC running all day for this. Get us, what, 3,000 buckets? Well, actually, I mean, that's not that bad, but let's see. So we start off at the compressors here, which then output their cells into the centrifuges. And then once that's done, you get nitrogen as the fluid, which just goes into our super tank. Now, along with the nitrogen, you get 1 cell of oxygen plus 4 empty cells, which is a little bit inconvenient because that means you can't just send everything to an oxygen tank. You need to be able to do some filtering. So that's what we have down here. We have some locked drawers which help with that. One drawer is locked to oxygen, pulled by a conveyor into our super tank. And then the other drawer is just empty cells. The empty cells, of course, just go back into our compressors. But of course, when the oxygen cells get emptied to the tank, we want them to go to this drawer, of course. So that's what this bottom conveyor is here for. And yeah, with this setup, everything just works. We get plenty of nitrogen, a little bit of oxygen on the side, which is nice for sulfuric acid, I mean. Oh yeah, and I completely forgot to mention, so since these machines use very little power, both the compressors and centrifuges, we actually only have a single steam turbine without a battery buffer, just power everything, which is keeping up somehow. I think we could even have another set of centrifuges and compressors and it would still work as normal. So maybe we'll look into doing that. I don't know if this ever becomes the bottleneck, that is. Although for the rest of the machines, we do have a battery buffer here, but it's getting powered from a combustion generator with our diesel, and it's working well so far. Oh yeah, and by the way, the nitrogen is actually useful here in phosphorus doped wafers. Yeah, we are able to make these right now. We were just missing the nitrogen. So yeah, we'll probably get to doing these this episode, but we'll see about that. Anyways, with the recap done, I guess we should just move on to even more infrastructure. So right now, if you guys remember, our biggest bottleneck is definitely oxygen. We just don't produce enough of it. So thankfully, I do have an idea on how we can fix that. Now, the first step to that solution is going to require us to craft these machines. Let's use NEI's auto crafting. Nice, there we go. An MV electrolyzer, an MV macerator, and an LV crop manager. Let's start by dealing with the crop manager first. Of course, we're going to want a bunch of dirt for this. So we're going to grab the chemical reactor, and we'll feed it with a little bit of water here. Okay, and then yeah, I just need to add some dirt and bone meal. Although I kind of am out of bone meal, so here we are back in the nether, so I can grab some more. Alright, cool. This should be a decent amount here. Okay, and now that I've filled out the entire field, the crop that we actually want to plant for this manager here is going to be sugarcane. Now this sugarcane we will output upstairs into this pipe, and then that'll bring it all the way up to here where we can have some sort of a buffer drawer. I'll go get more sugarcane in a second here, but we also want to think about powering all this. So I think just another cable like so. Oh yeah, and by the way, since these machines that we have here are going to use so little power, we can also just have the one steam turbine feeding the crop manager and the double MV machines. That's the hope, at least. But anyway, so I'm also going to go ahead and give this guy some water. I do have an extra water tank here that we can use. Oh yeah, we have to move it 1 block over. I forgot that these don't, they don't auto output from the top side. So I think we can just leave this here now. We have water going into that. We have power, and we can extract the outputs into our drawer. Speaking of which, here's a little bit of sugarcane. So we can filter in the drawer. Matter of fact, there's already a bunch in the drawer that I didn't notice. But we're gonna go ahead and replant most of this. But anyway, so the sugarcane that we get here, I think we're gonna send to our macerator. Yeah, with a conveyor for import. Yep, only 8 EU per tick. That's good. From this process, we get sugar, of course, which I want to send to an electrolyzer. And then this needs a bunch of cells. Although actually, if we look, the electrolyzer does use MV power for this recipe. So I think we're just going to mitigate that by having a battery that fills up whenever, well, nothing is running. Yeah, since the recipe only uses 26,000 EU in total, and this will hold 400,000. Don't think we're going to be using more power on average than the single turbine can provide. So in the end, it should be fine. For now, I'm going to go out in the wild and just hunt for a bunch of sugarcane so I can fill out the whole field. So yeah, I'll see you guys in just a moment here. Alright, cool. I reckon just a couple more minutes and then I'll be able to fill out this field. But coming back to over here, as you can see, we've already processed the recipe twice, actually. And check it out. So, we get a bunch of water. This is garbage. We're going to trash it. We get some carbon, which is actually quite useful. So this is what we'll do. We can have the carbon drawer be there, and then auto output, and then the oxygen, yeah, it goes over here. Then we conveyor to export that back into the machine. And there you go. That's working. And trust me, just this alone is probably going to last us, I'd say, until like EV in terms of oxygen production. So yeah, it's really good. Now, last thing to do is to just pump out the water into our trash can. And also filling out the last bit of the crop field. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes later. I just wanted to let this guy run for a while, see how much oxygen he gets. And I mean, if you look here, we're already up to 250 buckets. It's all thanks to the fact that sugarcane is one of the fastest growing crops. Although it does look like our macerator here can still keep up. It's just out of power right now, which kind of sucks. But that is to be expected. Maybe I should add another battery. Or I guess another turbine could also fix our issues here. Oh, I was about to connect it. No, we need 2X wire on this then. Also going with lossless cable can definitely help. Yeah, so now everything looks like it's working just fine. Alright, so now that we have nitrogen and oxygen, it's only appropriate that we deal with hydrogen as well. And I think the recipe we're going to go for is in the chemical bath with water plus sodium, which gives you a bucket of hydrogen every 5 seconds, plus sodium hydroxide, which, yeah, you can recycle for some more oxygen and hydrogen, and you get all of your sodium back, but it's a 50-second recipe at MV, which makes it basically the same as just electrolyzing water. I have way too much sodium that I'm pretty much never going to use, so at least I can use it to make hydrogen. Now, if we look, this recipe also doesn't use that much power, so I think I can just steal off of the steam turbine that's doing nitrogen. I guess we'll need some sort of an item input and output. And then we also want to output the hydrogen, which I guess I can do from the back. So let's just get a pump. And then I guess our hydrogen output can be like somewhere over here going into this tank. Oh yeah, I'll also make sure to get some facades in a second here. But anyways, I think we're going to have our sodium input right there. And then the sodium hydroxide can be output there. That way we can have an item pipe with a conveyor for import that will carry the sodium all the way to here. We also need to enable input from output side. Oh yeah, now we also need to pipe in some water. All right, there we go. This should start running in a second here. Oh yeah, and the hydrogen is already making its way into the tank. That's great. I think we just have to filter the drawer for sodium hydroxide and then connect the pipe. Oh, but that's not going to work because sodium is blocking the pipe. Although I think connecting it like this should work. We just need to auto output. And yeah, there you go. That's all 3 of the basic fluids done. These are going to be used very heavily soon enough. So it's good that we have them fully automated. I think right now I'm going to take a little break here. We're going to come back in just a moment. And I was originally planning the next segment of the episode to be some HV progression. But I think I want to prioritize something here that has to do with all these steam multi-blocks. And just as a little hint, here's the list of items that I have pinned relating to that project. So I'll see you once I'm ready to reveal it. Alright, so welcome back. It has been a few hours later for me. And well, I've been doing a bunch of crafting and preparation for this project here. I've been making lots of bronze plates. We're still actually cooking. Making those so that I can get some bronze plated bricks. Other things that I've crafted include item conduits, finally. These are going to be awesome. I've been making a bunch of LVs as well. If we look, I've been making these like circuit plates, which are definitely going to come in handy in a few seconds here. I've been making lots of electrum as well. This is mainly, yeah, this is what's used in item conduits. But anyway, so even though I already have done a bunch of crafting, there are still things like the item transport pipes, the responder chips and whatnot that I haven't crafted yet. I also haven't even made the machine controllers and whatnot. There's still a few things that I have to plan before I can actually get to work. And so I thought I might as well do it here on camera. I guess we'll start off by, first of all, getting the machine controllers we're gonna want. But while we're at it, I might as well also grab the ones that we already have here. Make sure to take off the covers off of the buses and whatnot. Same thing for the grinders, which I'm going to borrow. And let me just have a barrel here with all of the materials that we're gonna use. So yeah, the centrifuge can sit here, along with everything for the macerators and whatnot, and the rest of the multi-blocks. Okay, it looks like for the compressor and the forge hammer, I don't really need anything new. It's literally just casing and some more buses and hatches. The steam purifier, on the other hand, though, requires the gearbox casings and pipe casings, which I will be making. The recipe for which I've already pinned. I just need to make a bunch of like bronze rods, bronze pipes, bronze plates, gears, things we've already seen before. So I will meet you back in a moment once I've already done that. Oh, actually, here's something that we haven't seen before. For this setup, we are going to require our first HV machine, the HV macerator, and it looks like I have everything other than the electric piston and the diamond grinding head. Okay, and this is easy enough. Although I did just take down the macerator, so... Okay, wait, no, this is totally planned. We are also going to need the HV sifter for our setup anyway, so let's craft that while we're at it. We just need electric pistons, which is fine. I have stainless steel plates, and I also just made some gold cable, and we're gonna want 5 of these. 2 for the sifter, 2 for the combustion generator, and then 1 for the macerator. So that should be good. Although for the sifter, we will need some item filters here, but they actually don't seem that bad. We'll just need to make some fine steel wire and some zinc foils. Yeah, and then we combine both of these things with polyethylene on circuit 1 in the assembler, and in about 40 seconds, we're gonna have the filter. All right, so now we can make the HV sifting machine. Although wait, first, let's definitely make sure we get the quest. Okay, we're just locked behind. You're gonna hate this. Oh yeah, which wants me to make the pump, the conveyor, and the robot arm. So let's get the conveyor. There you go. Let's get the, I need more HV motors, which needs 2x silver cable and 4x electrum wire. Thankfully, I have been preparing that for quite a number of hours by now. So yeah, we already have a bunch of that, and electrum, yeah, I have some wire. I remembered this like an hour ago, so I started crafting a bunch of that. So now we should be able to make, you know what? Maybe I should go with the full half a stack. Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Okay, then the pump is just stainless steel fluid pipe and some steel rotors is what I'm missing. That should be easy enough. We just need to melt down some steel and also extrude some pipes. The molten steel, however, I hope that I can solidify that at LV. Okay, nice. Anyways, here's my HV pump and finally the HV robot arm. I might as well make 2 of those. You know, since we're gonna need both for the HV assembler anyway. But yeah, that also unlocks the HV macerator and sifter quests. So let's grab those real quick. Get the combustion generator. And just for now, these guys are going to go down here until I can find a better location, of course. But yeah, so we're going to grab a bunch of this purified diamond. I think pretty much right after we got the steam macerator, I accidentally grinded down some diamond ore. And then, well, I realized too late that you actually need a sifter to get diamonds out of it and not just the dust. So yeah, this diamond ore has been sitting there in chests for like probably 100 hours or so. Anyways, now we can finally use it to get some diamond dust and hopefully the exquisites and whatnot. They're actually quite useful. Oh, nice. There we go. All right, cool. Yeah, getting the diamond dust didn't take too long. Now we just need some double steel plates. That's easy. The grinding head and 1 more electric piston. I guess I miscounted, but yeah, here's the HV macerator. Now, the last thing we're gonna want is the MV thermal centrifuge, which is actually cheap enough. There you go. And even though most of you guys have already guessed what we're trying to do now, I guess I should just reveal what the project is going to be. The goal for this section of the episode is going to be setting up ore processing. Oh yeah, fully automatic, no manual intervention, just dumping the ores into a chest and get all the outputs out for free. And no work required for me because man is it boring. Just moving stuff from chests and then moving chests from stuff. That's not a sentence. Yeah, manually moving the ores back and forth between different machines is just getting quite annoying and boring right now. Especially because, well, my macerators and centrifuges sit over here, but then the forge hammer that I use quite a bit is all the way over there. The ore washer that I also use frequently is all the way over there. And then my furnace is all the way back here. So once I'm actually done and I have the dusts, usually from the washer or the forge hammer, that I can then smelt, I have to come all the way here to smelt it. I mean, I guess now that I said it out loud, it's not that the ore processing itself is annoying, it's just the fact that how my base is laid out. It's a lot of back and forth is what I'm saying. I mean, we're already in too deep. So yeah, let's get to setting up all the ore processing shenanigans. Starting off by getting 2 more steam grinders. All right, I'm missing some Tumbaga frame boxes. Let's just make a bunch here. I'm sure we'll need them in the future. Oh yeah, and I just remembered to mention this. The reason we actually went with the HV sifter and not the other ones, because well, they would have been a lot cheaper, is because we can eventually upgrade the HV sifter to the multi-block, which I definitely want to do at some point. As a matter of fact, the quest for it is literally right here. But I think this will have to wait a little bit because it needs, what is this? Eglin steel, which is some weird alloy that I don't feel like making right now. Yeah, but we're definitely going to leave some space for it. All right, well, anyways, here's my 2 more macerators. There's my 1 forge hammer. There's my steam compressor, which is actually unrelated to ore processing. It's just something that I want to have. So we'll deal with that in a second here. Let's get the steam purifier first. This is just the multi-block of the simple washer. Oh, it can even be an ore washing plant so that we can get byproducts. Ooh, I think I'm totally gonna do this. Oh yeah, and before I forget, let's also get the extra casings here that we need to. Yep, that was easy enough. And let me lay out the machines here. So the forge hammer is going to need 2 of the pipe casings and then like 39 bronze plated bricks. Purifier is going to need about 63 and then the other casings here. And the grinders, well, they can just go there. We're going to need 3 more output buses, 2 more steam hatches, and also we will want an input hatch for the water in the purifier. I guess we can do that at LV. So yeah, there's the 5 output buses. And then with the screwdriver, I'm going to turn 2 of those back into an input bus. So those can go here. I'm thinking with the way that we're going to set up the macerators, we'll need 2 output buses instead of just 1. Yeah, we'll see how that ends up looking. For now, let's just get the input hatch as well before I forget. And okay, I think now we've dealt with crafting all the machines. Now we have to deal with 2 more problems. First things first is if we look at an ore like diamonds, you'll see that pretty much the best route for us to take is to macerate it and then ore wash it and then sift it for the outputs. We don't want to like macerate it, then thermal centrifuge, then do some other stuff with that, or like macerate it again twice by accident. We want it to take one specific path. And that's true for pretty much every ore here. Like bauxite, we want this to be washed and then thermal centrifuged and then macerated. And we also want to specify that this gets macerated in the HV macerator, not the steam grinders. That way we actually, you know, get the gallium byproduct, which we are interested in. That's why we crafted this thing, because if you look, it has 2 output slots now. That's what's special about these HV macerators and up. They actually give you the byproducts. Unlike the grinders, we just want them to go as fast as possible. Like for example, with iron ore, I don't care about the extra 10% chance of tin dust. If we decide to thermal centrifuge it, I just want it to be macerated as fast as possible and just get me the iron dust. I don't want it to go to the HV macerator and, well, clog it up and waste time. So that's the first problem, filtering every ore, making sure that it gets processed in the correct way. The second problem, and this one is actually, well, not much of a problem, it's just something to consider, is storage for everything. And well, I think we're just going to use a bunch of drawers. Can't go wrong with a big drawer wall. And thankfully, now that we reach HV, we actually do have the ability to craft drawer controllers. So that'll definitely help. I think I'll probably make like 4 of these or something. Oh yeah, and as the quest book says, the drawer controller is heavily nerfed. It only has a 4-block radius for drawers. I might increase that in the config settings. I don't like that. Yeah, I think I will definitely be doing that. If anyone's interested, the way you do it is you go to storage drawers, config, then block settings, then drawer controller, and there's the range. You can also increase the maximum drawers, but I think I'll leave this at default. This seems fair. 50 drawers is a fair number, but 4 blocks of range is absolutely garbage. I'm gonna reset that to the default, which is 12 usually. Although I think I have to also change it on the server files. So yeah, I'll do that once we get to it. Anyways, that's storage almost dealt with. For the transportation of items though and filtering, well, I think we're gonna go with Project Red Transportation. I really want to try this out. Never played with this before, and I think it's gonna be quite fun. I just have to make a bunch of these pipes. I'm gonna make 3 stacks, which is pretty cheap to be honest. So let me craft everything up for that and then we'll be back. Oh, and that's so nice. There's actually quests about this stuff because I have absolutely no idea how any of this stuff works. Okay, it looks like we're going to have to make some junction pipes. I'll even use the stainless steel recipe. It's incredibly cheap, so why the heck not? It makes half a stack at a time too, which is nice. And as the name says, that's very useful for things like this where you have one middle pipe connecting to multiple different paths. This middle pipe here should be a junction. I'm guessing it's probably for lag purposes. Okay, now we need routed interface pipes. And I think this is what actually connects to chests and barrels and whatever we need to pipe into. It's also very cheap. I can even make circuit boards now with the iron 3 chloride for a better ratio, which I'm definitely going to do. I am low on gold. Okay, so this should get us our boards. And then the rest of the stuff is just our routed junction pipes, gold plates, and molten redstone. I did have to make another batch of the junction pipes, because apparently I got enough boards and plates and redstone for half a stack of the interface pipes, but they also take the junction pipes in the recipe, so yeah. Okay, it looks like I can right-click the interface pipe and opens up this menu. I'm guessing this is where the chips go, because that's the next quest. So actually, yeah, let's make the routing chips. 2x gold wire, some circuits, and circuit plates, which I'm sure you saw me make earlier. Just stone plates and etched low voltage wiring, which I don't know if I already mentioned this, but it's just engraving some red alloy foils with a ruby lens. So yeah, it's quite cheap. Just takes a lot of time because of the stone plates. These things are 15 seconds in the compressor each. Oh yeah, give me my 2x gold wire, and then all of this stuff has to go into the circuit assembler. Okay, and then it looks like there's 2 more chips here. Item overflow and then item responder. Okay, so from reading the quest book, it looks like this is just, well, overflow. As in, you have some sort of a chest where if you set some filters in your pipe network, and then you use like an extractor chip here to extract from another chest, if it doesn't find any filter destination for that item, it just goes into overflow. And of course, I can then filter it into the appropriate machine. So yeah, let me try and craft a couple of these. It looks like it's just an LV circuit, 2x red alloy wire, steel plate, and then some sort of a Lumar. The extractor chip needs cyan, the responder needs orange, and then the overflow needs green. The Lumar is just a mixer recipe with glowstone plus the dye, so it's actually fairly cheap. Yeah, alright, let me get all of that stuff real quick, and then, of course, as usual, I'll bring you back. Alright, very cool. I think we have everything we need from this now. I do want to have a little test here just to better understand how these things work. So let's have our routed interface pipes on all these barrels, and then we connect everything up with a junction. Something like this. It looks like, oh, everything's lighting up in green. I think that means we're good. Alright, now let's take all these chips. So as you can see, I made a bunch of the responder chips because these are what act like the filter. And then let's see, we shift right click, okay. And here's our filtering. Can we pull from JEI? Okay, no, I don't think so. So let's say that we want iron chests to go into that barrel. Gold chests can go into this barrel, and etc, etc. I'll do that with these 2 items as well, making sure that this is a whitelist. And then let's get our extractor chip here, and then we'll set this to blacklisted, which means it will extract everything that's in the chest. So now let's put in the stuff. Wow, that worked perfectly. Yeah, that's not bad at all. And it was quite fast. Very cool. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can just put the chips in the crafting grid to reset them. Okay, well, now I think we're actually ready to do everything. We have pretty much anything we need. We have the overflow, the extraction, the filtering system, and storage can be dealt with at the end. I do also want to incorporate some item conduiting, and you'll see how that's going to come in handy in just a second once we actually start setting up everything. I also have a bunch of diamond barrels. I crafted these, I think yesterday or something. I crafted these in the footage that was scrapped. Again, it's a very cheap recipe, so not a problem at all. For now, this is going to be our like intermediary storage, and I think that's about everything that I want. Oh yeah, I guess we're going to want some pipes for steam and whatnot. Some cables for power wouldn't be bad, especially for the HV machines, and I think the best cable that we have access to, other than the superconductors, is going to be Electrum cable. Yeah, if we look over here, it's an HV cable with 32 amps for the 16x, so that basically means that each 1x gives you 2 amps maximum, and then it only has 1 loss of EU. Yeah, it's nice that this cable has a double amperage. As you can see, I've already been like pinning a bunch of cables here, all the way up to UHV tier. This is what I think the best cables for each tier are. You know, we have the lossless cable for LV, electrical steel for MV because it has triple the amperage, Electrum for HV, black steel for EV because it has quadruple the amperage, platinum, again, this has double, niobium has quadruple, osmiridium for ZBM because that's what, 8x the amps, duranium for UV, and HSSS for UHV. And I tried to choose cables that had the least amount of loss for the most amount of amps. Although if you know any better cables for this sort of stuff, then please let me know, so that by the time that we can actually get into this stuff, I'll have a bunch ready. Anyways, yap session over. I think I'm gonna go with 2x Electrum wire for now. Having 4 amps to work with at HV is already gonna be plenty. I don't think we're gonna have that many machines anyway. But yeah, speaking of machines and setting them up, I'm gonna leave that as a job for tomorrow, because right now it's getting late. I need to start editing some of the footage. Anyways, I'll bring you back in just a moment. Alright, so welcome back. It's the next day for me, and also, by the way, I've just gone ahead and updated my game to 2.8.4. So there's that, although I have yet to read the changelog, so I don't know what's actually different. I guess we'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, one more thing before we get started with this is the forge hammer actually requires 2 blocks of iron, so I just made that. And we also have to go ahead and pick up the sifter, plus the combustion engine, of course. And I believe I should be able to just use one of these to power both the macerator and the sifter, and maybe the thermal centrifuge, although that might need its own power. power source. If we look, usually the sifter only uses half an amp of HV, so the other half can go to the macerator, which actually, as a matter of fact, only uses 1 LV amp. So, you know, I might be able to just stick a steam turbine on that. That's not a bad idea. But if we look the thermal centrifuge here, yeah, over here, it uses 2 amps of NV in most recipes, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to handle that. I am realizing, though, we need the transformer here. Oh, which needs SMD inductors. And that's not actually that bad. Okay. Yeah, it's just some steel rings plus fine annealed copper wire. Okay, cool. And now I can actually get my transformer here. Okay, well, now I'm going to take a moment here and try and plan everything. Place down all the machines and whatnot. Hook up the steam, hook up the water input, stuff like that. And then once I'm done with that, I'll bring you right back. Alright, so welcome back. It's been a few hours later, actually. I've just been editing the footage and doing, well, a little bit of building, as you can see. As you can probably tell, this is where all the multi-blocks are going to sit. So we have the ore washer is going to go there. The 4 macerators are going to go in this square. The forge hammer goes here, and the separator goes here. Oh yeah, and of course, we have to deal with the single blocks. But for now, those can just go here, I guess. So there's the macerators, and I want to have a tower of them. So the sifter is also going to need its own 5x5 space. Remember, eventually we want this to be a multi-block, so I'll have to extend this corridor once that happens. Although just for now, because I don't feel like building, we're gonna place it down as just a single block. And also because the combustion generator for it also is gonna power the thermal centrifuges. Yeah, let's see. So that's the input for HV, which then goes into here. Okay, yeah, that looks good to me. And I guess now let's start with the macerators. Yeah, this is going to be the first step for any ore. So we'll place an input bus in the middle. That way, all of the grinders can see this guy. We'll have our 2 steam hatches here. And then that reminds me, I need to get some more for the other multi-blocks. Might as well get those crafted right now. But yeah, so then from this, we're going to want a few output buses. And I think I'll have to place them on these edges. Or, well, actually, I can definitely put them in the center. Yeah, cool. Now we point everything down. And I'm just now realizing I'm definitely going to need some sort of wiring tunnels, which I have yet to dig out, so let's just do that real quick. Okay, yeah, so this should be good enough here. And now here's where we get into actually filtering stuff. So what we're gonna do is connect up some item conduit. On the output buses, this we want to extract on red everything. And then on the input bus, we'll insert on brown. Then we're gonna have a little barrel over here, and we'll extract on brown from that. So whatever ends up in here should go to the input bus. And the reason we have a barrel here is so that we can fit more interface pipes, so that we can actually filter a lot more things. So yeah, let's actually set a couple of filters here. We know that the macerator is always going to process raw ores. So we'll set a filter for this, and then I think if we just do ignore ore dictionary and the metadata, that should pretty much catch any ore. Let's place that guy in there. And so let's test that out. Let's pretend this is our input chest for ore processing. We'll put everything in there, get a couple pipes like so, and then I think we need to have a junction here. Let's have our interface pipe on this, and then the extractor chip. I think I must have done something wrong. Maybe the junction pipe isn't supposed to be there. Maybe we have to do it something like this. Oh, right. I forgot to enable blacklist on the extractor chip. Oh, okay, nice, yeah. Everything went where it needed to go, and then the crushed pyrite was completely ignored. Yeah, so now this filter is picking up every raw ore. Oh yeah, and we can always have more filters on the sides here. If, for example, with magnetite here, we want to macerate it twice and then centrifuge, that can happen. Well, actually ignore that, since whatever ore that we want to double macerate and then centrifuge can just be done in the forge hammers. Neither the grinders nor the forge hammer will give any byproducts, but the forge hammer is way, way faster. That's like the whole reason I made it in the first place, and I just kind of forgot about it. And I guess since we're setting up macerators first, let's also set up the HV guy, which again should be a similar setup. We'll just have to go kind of like this with the piping. Or wait, no, we want to go here. So that once we need to add more macerators, we can have space for that. And we'll do the same conduit colors. Insert on brown, extract on red. And because eventually we're going to have more single blocks, we definitely want to enable, if I can reach the conduit, enable round robin here on the extract. But anyways, yeah, so we can have our interface pipes like usual. Oh yeah, and I also think that we only need one junction here because everything still lights up as green. So yeah, let me change this as well. Now, if you remember, the HV macerator, we basically want to filter it on a case-by-case basis. So in our responder chip here, we want to ignore the ore dictionary and we want to check MBT. And let's see, what's a good one to test this out with? Let's go with cobaltite for the cobalt byproduct. That's not a bad idea. And so we'll filter that into our responder chip here. But remember, because our grinders there take every single type of ore, it could sometimes, you know, not prioritize the HV macerator. So we're going to go in the responder chip and increase the priority. We definitely want to make sure to do that. So now this time, let's try that again, and let's dump everything here. I think all of the cobaltite made it here. Yep, the full stack. And then everything else should have been shoved into this barrel. All right, nice. I'm so surprised this works so well. It's great. And then last thing for the HV macerator. This is going to require me to turn on the sifter for a second. Or the thermal centrifuge. Let's just test it out with this pyrite. If we look, pretty much everything that goes through the thermal centrifuge needs to be macerated. We'll have a similar thing to where this will pretty much macerate every centrifuged ore. But then on a higher priority, we can specifically filter what things we want to be processed really fast with the forge hammer. So again, let's just have a responder chip here with the centrifuged ore, and then we want to ignore metadata and check ore dictionary. That'll go into our pipe. And now let's try this one more time. So let's put in pyro and then the centrifuged pyrite. Yep, the pyrite made its way into there, but also the impure pile of copper. Wait, why the hell did it do that? I think in that case, since we want all the piles to be centrifuged, we'll set up a higher priority again on our steam separator here. So let me just get that going. And actually in that case, I think we really only need one interface pipe for the centrifuge. We'll leave space for more just in case, but there's not a whole lot of things that really need that. So we'll match the ore dictionary, but then ignore everything else. Okay, I think I might have figured it out here. So all I did is I made it check the metadata and check the ore dictionary, but ignore the MBT. And I did the same thing for pyrite. So we checked the metadata and we checked the ore dictionary, but ignore MBT. And that seems to have worked even without increasing the priorities. Yeah, so everything went into its correct place here. Anyways, pyrite is not something that we want to macerate at HV anyway. Gives us garbage here. I don't even think we want the thermal centrifuge it. Or wait, no. The tricalcium phosphate from this is actually useful. So yeah, we'll thermal centrifuge this, but then we'll forge hammer. So yeah, let's do that. We just have to replace this with a junction pipe and then have the same barrel set up with the responder chip that is going to check pretty much everything. And I think we'll leave the checking here at default settings. That way it filters everything perfectly. And remember, we do have a filter that macerates every centrifuge thing. So we want to increase the priority on this chip for special cases like this. So now let's try that. Ignores the macerator, goes all the way here and into the barrel. Nice. Which of course is going to have an input bus, the item conduit, and I guess our output bus can be like literally right there. And that's basically the forge hammer done. We just need some sort of a steam input. That should be fine, like right there. And well, I think by now you definitely get how this works, right? I think I've dealt with everything that, you know, needs a special case. For the purifier, we only want specific ores always. So we don't even have to modify the chip. We just add whatever ore in the filter slots. Yeah, nothing really special. It's going to be the same thing for the sifter and the thermal centrifuge. So I'm going to get done with those real quick here. And then once that's done, we can come back to actually start building the multi-blocks, powering them, filtering a bunch of ores, and then hopefully activating everything and hoping that it works. Yeah, see you guys in just a moment. Alright, so welcome back. A little bit of time has passed and, well, as you can see, a couple of things have changed. First of all, yes, I did go ahead and implement the rest of the machines with their routed interface pipes. I also placed down all the buses and hatches and whatnot for everything, connected up the barrels and then the conduits. And I'm only now realizing that I forgot to mention why we're extracting all the outputs back on red from all the machines. The reason for that is actually quite simple. So let's say that we dump a bunch of iron ore into our input chest, which sits right over here, by the way. Now this is the pipe that has the extractor chip, and then that goes to everywhere. But yeah, say that we want to process some iron ore. We dump all the raw ore into the chest, it gets extracted, and of course the first available destination is the grinder, so it gets macerated. And so now that we have that crushed iron, we wanted to of course move on to the next step. For us, that will be the forge hammer. The way that I decided to do it is basically sending all of the outputs back into the input chest so that they can get re-extracted and then routed to the forge hammer or whatever other machine. So like we would have a filter here and then add the crushed iron to it. So now the processing chain goes like this. Iron ore into the diamond barrel, goes into the macerators, gets crushed, and then the crushed goes back into the barrels and then gets re-extracted into the forge hammer. Now you could of course just use more routed interface pipes with extractor chips from the buses, but number one, that's going to be very bulky, very expensive. I'm going to need lots of chips, lots of interface pipes compared to just using conduits, which are not nearly as complex, or rather they're more easily mass produced for me, you know, because chips are like kind of weird. You need circuits, you need routing chips, which is more circuits, more wires. So we're using those to transport everything. As you can see, there's a conduit connection here that inserts on red. This also lets me do things like, for example, since I have a bunch of already processed materials, all of this impure piles and all of this already crushed stuff, I'm pretty sure if we do it the other way, I'll have to go manually to each input of the machine instead of just being able to dump it all into one barrel. At least I think. I haven't thought about it that much. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the way I'm doing it right now is better. Another thing that you might have noticed while I was walking down here is that for all these outputs, I have this intermediary barrel, which grabs all the outputs first, and then this connects to this conduit network that then puts stuff into our main input barrel. The only reason we have this in between all the machines and the conduits is just so that we don't connect the networks together. Because remember, we're extracting all the inputs on brown. So like imagine if the inputs of the HV macerator tried to go into the sifter, because well, everything is on the same channel, right? Or like the sifter input tries to go into the ore washer and things just get mixed up and jumbled up. We don't want that to happen, of course. So it's basically this conduit network here grabs all the inputs, the filtered inputs, into the machines and then extracts them into this barrel. And that's it. That's job complete for this. Then this conduit network here is what actually takes it back into the input so that the project's red pipes can then refilter it into where it needs to go. But yeah, I'm hoping now that explanation made some sense, since I think right now we should definitely move on to setting up all the machines and whatnot. Let's start off with the washer here. It consists of two parts. The first part where the controller is needs to be a 3x3 with the middle filled in. And then we take some bronze pipe casings and build 3 blocks up, go to the side a little bit, and then we do something like this. I'm also realizing the output bus for this cannot go there because this is where the gearbox casings go. So yeah, we'll just move the bus to over here. But yeah, then the rest is just casings. Okay, now we need a little bit of glass, which goes like so. And then we just fill in the casings. And there we go. Okay, now that that's done, let's go to the steam grinders, which is just a hollow 3x3. Nothing special. Next up is the forge hammer, which actually looks pretty neat. We're going to start off with this sort of a shape, and then a hollow 3x3 like so. A couple blocks above that, we're going to have our 2 iron blocks. And above these 2, we need to have 2 more pipe casings like so. Then we just connect the structure up with some more bronze plated bricks. Oh yeah, and we're missing 2 more blocks on the sides of the pipe casing. Yeah, nice. Now the last thing is a separator, which you've already seen me build before, so let me do that real quick. So now that that's dealt with, let's deal with the power. First of all, the diesel. We have a pipe literally right here, so that's not a problem. Although the item conduit is kind of interfering with that, so I'll just go from the back. And yeah, I'll make sure to put a facade on top so that it's not shown. Steam is also a similar story. We just need to extend this pipe. Although I think I will be upgrading this to the huge version. And yeah, since it's a single turbine, let's just grab a normal potent pipe for that. Oh, here, it working. Okay, now we extend the huge potent pipe. And I guess now we have to switch to the large one. I am realizing, though, that now it's actually kind of difficult to walk around. So we're just going to go down a couple blocks here. And then the steam pipe will be on this level instead. Nice. Oh, right. There's some ores for it to process. Let me just turn everything on, see if... Oh, yeah, and look at this. Even the input chest has a bunch of stuff. Right, all of the cobaltite got done. So I guess let's filter this as our first ore here. It looks like it's just more cobalt dust as a byproduct, which I guess is fine. I'm leaning towards ore washing it, then forge hammer, then centrifuge. Yeah, so let's go to the ore washer, get a chip here. We filter that in, put it into the interface pipe, and we should see some stuff coming over here. Oh, look. Yup. Nice. It's going into the input bus. And all we need to do now is actually provide this thing with water. I kind of forgot about that. Right, where's the input hatch? It's over here. Okay, now here's the thing. I was gonna go ahead and connect that up to our water line, but you know what? Actually, now that we're in HV tier and we can make HV pumps, I'm gonna get 4 of those. Then I'll grab some of this fused quartz that I made earlier. We'll also grab 2 cauldrons here, and then if we combine everything in this recipe, nice, we get the reservoir from Ender IO. And yeah, I'm sure that you guys already know what this is. It's way faster water production, which is probably a good thing because this ore washer uses like what, a bucket every craft? That's quite a bit. I don't think our water tanks outside would be able to handle that. But anyways, yeah, so we're gonna fill that up with 2 buckets, and then we just right click with a wrench to auto output, and that should be good. Oh, nice. I actually kind of like the sound effect it makes. But anyways, let's see. We should get the outputs back here. And yeah, now that we have this, we can filter that into the forge hammer. So let's place that in there, and we should see it coming over. But yeah, very cool. And then now we get the purified pile, which I think will do the same thing as we did with the other impures. We want it to always be centrifuged, so hopefully this filter will do that. Okay, yeah, there we go. And yeah, look at that. The centrifuge is working. Awesome. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is so exciting. We're getting all the outputs in the world. That's awesome. But let's see here. I guess we might as well also filter in all these other ores that we have. Let's start off with cinnabar. To me, it looks like the best way to process this is to macerate, which we're already doing. Then ore wash for the purified version that we can sift, since quicksilver is actually very useful here. Although we'll get to the uses of that in probably a future episode. Right now, though, we just want to grab the responder chip, add that guy to the filter, and I might as well grab all the cinnabar ore that I have. Let's just get that processing all at once. Oh yeah, look at all the cinnabar flowing. Oh my goodness. Ooh, okay, our cinnabar just came through. We'll need a brand new chip, and then we add that to the filter, insert it into the interface pipe, and aha, there we go. Oh my goodness, wait, a 90-second recipe? Yeah, look at that, 360 seconds at LV. Oh my goodness. Are recipes really that slow? Okay, now it looks like for our usual crystals, it's a 40-second recipe. For whatever reason, though, some of these guys are multiple hundreds of seconds. That's not really great, but I guess we don't care about speed that much, since, you know, I can just let the server run for longer. I'm thinking of also setting up a simple washer, just a single block, probably at MV, so that we can power it off of this guy, just for things that we want to wash quickly. Like, for example, sapphire. I think I definitely want all these gems. I don't care about the alumina inputs. And, you know, considering how slow the ore washing plant is, I definitely don't want that to be clogging it up. So I think I'll do that in between the episodes here. Aw, this is so great. This is awesome. I can't get over the fact that we have this now. It's so great just having fully automatic ore processing. Obviously, I still have to set a bunch of filters here, which I think I'll do right now. But after that, oh my goodness, things will get so much easier. You know what? I was going to wrap up the episode here, but we might as well do a little bit of filtering together before I just do the rest of it in between the episodes. I guess we can do sulfur and lazurite. Maybe we'll filter in diamond ore as well. Let's do cryolite. Why not? And yeah, I think that's about it for now. So let's dump in all of the ores, see what happens. Okay, yeah, as expected, it took all the raw ores because we already have those filtered, but we also want to get the individual steps in. So let's deal with the simplest one, which I think is going to be sulfur. All of the byproducts from this is even more sulfur, but I don't really care. We want to process this as fast as possible, which is going to be the forge hammer for the impure pile, and then that will get centrifuged, which I think that will clog up the centrifuge for a while, which is another reason that we should definitely have a simple washer. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing that in between the episodes. It's just going to be another case of filtering this in specifically and then increasing the priority. Okay, so both of the lazurite and diamond I want to be washed, and also both of them I want to be sifted. That's the best way to process this, I think. Don't forget to also encode the sulfur into the forge hammer, and I think cryolite as well. Yeah, I don't really care about the byproducts. Okay, and then lastly, let's filter in the lazurite and diamond into the sifters. And well, yeah, I think that's actually all about I have for today's episode. Very awesome that we now have ore processing. I'm definitely going to be continuing filtering in between the episodes. I think next time we're going to use our riches to, well, advance more into the new circuit line, of course. Definitely want to get more into Ender IO. Seriously, this time I've been saying it for a couple episodes and we just don't do anything. I also want to get a couple more of these goals that I have pinned done with as well. And I mean, pretty soon here, we're going to have to start looking at the moon, which is a little intimidating. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll come back next time to do the things that I just said we were going to do. But for now, though, have a great rest of your day.